Okay, everybody. So sorry I'm not in live class today. I do have some PTO, some time off today, and we weren't really able to get a substitute to cover. But hopefully you can watch this video lesson here. So today is Friday, May 12th, 2023. Obviously you can't do your polling options, but just something to think about. Would you rather have a sleepover inside a museum or have a sleepover inside the White House? Me personally, I would say the White House option there, but that's because I'm a presidential nerd and I like all that presidential stuff. So I would probably pick the White House, but the museum would be cool too. Okay, so Keystone testing next week. So no live classes on Monday, May 15th, Tuesday, May 16th, and Wednesday, May 17th. I will be out testing again. I'll probably see some of you maybe at testing, so that would be nice. And then live classes should resume on Thursday, May 18th, and Friday, May 19th. However, if I need to do makeup testing or we need to, extend testing for any students, I may need to be out further than that, but just plan on obviously no live classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then at least live classes probably Thursday and Friday. But remember to log on and complete your assignments in the class and to check the course page for any changes or updates. Again, if I have to cancel class Thursday or Friday, I'll definitely send you guys a Schoology message and post it on the Schoology page too. So keep an eye out for those things. Okay, the CYU, the Great Society. I'm asking you to choose one from each chart here. Again, you can't respond in the chat box or on the whiteboard, but just thinking about these different programs and laws. The Tax Cut Bill of 1964, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Economic Opportunity Act of 1964, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, Medicare, Medicaid, and then Immigration Act of 1965. And then we talked a little bit about the Warren cases here, the Warren court cases, excuse me, Mapp versus Ohio, Escobedo versus Illinois, and Miranda versus Arizona. So I gave you some notes here to think about how you did on this. So the tax cut bill cut taxes by $10 billion. The Civil Rights Act banned discrimination because of skin color, religion, and or origin. Economic Opportunity Act provided aid and money to inner cities. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act gave funding to schools such as resources, books, etc. Medicare, remember Medicare is care for the elderly. One way I thought to remember this is the E at the end of Medicare for elderly, so maybe that'll help you remember it. And then Medicaid is medical care for the poor and the disabled. And then Immigration Act of 1965 opened the door for different groups of immigrants, especially from Africa and Asia. And then the court cases, Mapp versus Ohio, police may not seize any items without a warrant. Escobedo versus Illinois, the right to have a lawyer present during police questioning. And then Miranda versus Arizona, those famous Miranda rights, the right to be silent, the right to a lawyer, etc. Okay, the Kennedy and Johnson Timeline Project. Remember, you'll be choosing 5 events from the administrations of President Kennedy and President Johnson. Bay of Pigs invasion, Cuban Missile Crisis, Peace Corps, Kennedy assassination, Civil Rights Act, and Voting Rights Act. Remember that these events have to be in the correct order in your document, okay? 1962 comes before 1963, right? Just like a timeline. So please make sure you have the correct dates. Otherwise, you cannot receive full credit. So these are some of the events. I did put them in the correct order here. So the Peace Corps, March 1961, obviously encouraging young people to travel around the world to help others in need with education, medical, or other wants. Bay of Pigs was April 1961, a month or so later. CIA and Cuban rebels attempt to overthrow the communist government in Cuba. The mission failed. It's embarrassing for the U.S. and Kennedy. The Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. Soviets placed missiles in Cuba close to the U.S. 13 days of close standoff and tensions excuse me, between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, with both sides backing down and removing their missiles. The Kennedy assassination was 1963. President Kennedy and his wife Jackie are visiting Dallas, Texas to start a re-election campaign, and sadly, as we know, he is shot and killed while riding through a parade. The nation is in shock and sorrow. 1964, President Johnson signs the Civil Rights Act, which bans discrimination based on a person's color, religion, or national origin. And then the Voting Rights Act, 1965, also signed by President Johnson, made it illegal to use literacy tests or poll taxes to allow people to vote. So I want to give you a quick little review here of Kennedy and Johnson. Quick little fun quiz here, so you can play along as you're watching. What two things helped Kennedy win in 1960? A, television, B, civil rights, C, women, or D, the end of the Cold War? What two things helped Kennedy win in 1960? Okay, well, hopefully you were able to pick A and B there, both television and civil rights. What did President Kennedy mean when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country? Remember, that was that famous quote from his inaugural address in 1961. So what do you think he meant by that? What happened at the Bay of Pigs? A, Americans were embarrassed by a failed attempt to overthrow Castro. B, JFK was assassinated. C, the U.S. was able to capture Castro. Or D, none of these here. That would be letter A, right? Americans were embarrassed by a failed attempt to overthrow Castro. How did the Cuban Missile Crisis end? A, the Soviets attacked Turkey. B, the U.S. invaded Cuba. C, the U.S. and the Soviet Union removed missiles. Or D, JFK resigned as president. That would be letter C, right? Both sides agreed to remove their missiles. Where would you find the Berlin Wall? A, the United States. B, England. C, Iraq. D, Germany. Where would you find the Berlin Wall? That would be in Germany, right? Dividing West and East Germany, the Berlin Wall. That kind of booby-trapped wall dividing both areas. What was the purpose of the Peace Corps? A, to help poor foreign countries and people. B, to pass better quality for African Americans in the South. C, to stop the spread of communism in Vietnam. D, to aid East Germany behind the Berlin Wall. That would be letter A, right? To help poor foreign countries and people. What happened on November 22nd, 1963? Cuban rebels overthrew Castro. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. Nixon became president, or Kennedy was assassinated. Yeah, that would be that tragic, historic day when President Kennedy was assassinated. Who became president after Kennedy? Dwight Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, Lyndon Johnson, or Ronald Reagan? That would be Lyndon Johnson, LBJ for short. What was the name of President Johnson's domestic agenda? The New Deal, the New Frontier, the Great Society, Change is Coming. Yeah, letter C there, the Great Society. How did the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act impact the U.S.? Stopped illegal immigration from Mexico, supported equal and voting rights for African Americans, raised wages for women, gave veterans homes and medical care. Letter B, supported equal and voting rights for African Americans. And then the last question here, how did the Warren Court impact the U.S.? A, protect individual rights during crimes. B, protected children in labor conditions. C, gave women less control with privacy. D, limited the power of Congress to pass laws. Letter A, right? Protected individual rights during crimes. Those are those cases, Mapp versus Ohio, Escobedo versus Illinois, and Miranda versus Arizona. So again, just to remember and to wrap up here, Keystone testing next week. No live classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Should hopefully have live class on Thursday and Friday again, but check the course page to be double sure, and just make sure you're logging on to complete your assignments. Good luck with Keystone testing if you are out testing, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.